Hello out there, and welcome in to another episode of Rolling with My Special Friends. Today, this guy is one of those people that you just have to know. You have to be able to be around him and experience the kind of change he can bring to somebody's life, the opportunity that you get to meet one of these, what I call generational people that are something special out there. You just got to know. I mean, this when you meet him, you're gonna just feel like you've known him as soon as you start talking to him. But we're going to bring in today a guy that's the host of Noah's Outdoor Adventures, and Mr. Noah travels all over the country doing different things and killing different animals and just being outside traveling. So I want to bring him in and let him tell you his story and his mom to tell the story so you guys get a better feel for who we're interviewing today. Noah, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Good. And how's mom doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Oh, doing just fine. Now, you know, we're known for it right here on our show we don't want to beat around about things. We want to jump right off into this story and let people know, you know, who we are, what we're dealing with, how things are going. Tell us what medically Noah has going on.
Noah has a very rare disease. It's called Morquio Syndrome. In the state of Mississippi, Noah's so rare, he's the only one with it. And basically what Morquio is, it affects his entire body. Noah's 22 years old, and he's a little person. It affects his lungs, his heart, all of his bones, muscles, and tissues, and all that. But he's got a sharp brain. He's very sharp as a tack, but he doesn't let it bother him.
When you, and I hope I pronounced this right, Morquism, is that correct?
Morquio
Okay.
syndrome.
Morquio. Okay, so Morquio, can you give us for everybody out there listening on the podcast as well, a definition of what exactly medically do they say that is? What does it do to the body?
Noah is missing the enzyme that breaks down the bad sugars in the body, GAGs. Um, it doesn't cause sugar diabetes. It just causes his muscles and stuff to deteriorate. It causes his lungs and heart and all that to deteriorate faster. But Noah is now on an ERT, an enzyme replacement therapy called Vimizim. And Vimizim has slowed the progression of the Morquio. So it's not going to reverse the effects, but it will help slow down and keep Noah with us a lot longer until the good Lord's ready.
Now, to give us a little better explanation too of people out there listening, what in that new therapy that you're saying he's on, this replacement therapy, how do you feel like it's changed his life? I mean, I think you and I discussed once before that Noah was in a situation, he was going to the doctor every week, and now this therapy's really put a big difference in that.
What Vimizim is, it's a man-made synthetic medication. Noah gets an infusion every single week for the rest of his life. And it's replacing the enzyme that Noah's missing. So when he was smaller and he didn't have this enzyme replacement therapy, he kept ear infections, he kept pneumonia, bronchitis. He just was a sickly individual. But in 2016, Noah discovered Vimizim by doing some research, and we got with our doctor and such and decided that let's give Vimizim a try. And it has made a big difference in Noah. Do you feel a difference since you started it? Yeah. But you can tell, like when we have like hurricanes come through, or when we have like this past February, we had the ice storm come through. He didn't get his medication for 6 weeks. It makes him tired when he misses, and he regresses. And it takes him a little while to get back up to par again. So we try not to miss if we can.
So now in explaining also a lot of what he's got going on, did a doctor ever give you a life expectancy?
Noah was, well, when we first started with the doctor, they told us that the life expectancy of an individual with Morquio syndrome was 10 years old, because there was nothing to help them to progress any better. So wow. Noah is 22 years old. So we have surpassed that. Wow. And it's all because we try to keep him healthy. We try to keep him away from sicknesses that's going to cause him to get sick. And with the Vimizim, that has just helped his body regenerate and keep him going. And it's actually just given him a better life. So am I thrilled that he has to have an infusion every week? No, but I know it helps him and it keeps him here.
Now, another area that I want to touch on and with what he's got going on as well, that I thought I was just amazed and blown away at the number. Can you tell us about everybody listening, the numbers of surgeries that Noah's been through?
Noah is approximately around the number 40 mark on surgeries because he started having surgery. His very first back surgery was when he was 9.5 months old.
Oh, my goodness. So I bet he's full of all kinds of titanium then, isn't he?
Well, I'm going to reference this like I did the other day. A lot of people are not going to understand it, but us older people, we will. He is not the $6 million man. Noah is the $3 billion man.
He's now that's just amazing in itself. I mean, I know a lot of people that have had some surgeries. I know people that have been through 4, 5, 6 surgeries, but 40, I mean, that's like, it just doesn't even make any sense. How do you, for people out there listening and families that are trying to help, get people through these things, how do you as a family deal with 40 surgeries?
It's not easy, especially when you have another child at home and you have to be 3 or 4 hours away from that child because you're taking care of their sibling who's sick. It takes a tribe. It takes a tribe to take care of everything in a family that has this kind of situation going on. My mother and father would take my daughter home with them because she had school. So they would bring her home, take care of her, while Lester's mom and dad stayed with us at the hospital to help us take care of Noah. So there again, it takes a tribe to take care of individuals with special needs and all.
Yeah, I would definitely think for people out there listening that you got to have a good family network to be able to pull this thing off and make it all go smoothly. Now for us out there listening, put us into the story of Noah as well. What is it like? I think you said he had surgeries at 9 months old. What was the baby version of Noah? Did he jump up and walk and crawl and do everything else just like every other child?
No, Noah, like I said, at 9.5 months old, Noah had his very first back surgery. It didn't take, the spinal fusion did not take, so therefore we had to go back in and do it again. Noah learned to crawl in a body cast, if you want to call it crawl. And I think whenever you were a little over a year old, his sister had a beanbag chair sitting in the living room. And she told him when he pulled up on the couch, she said, "You just need to walk to me." And I just kind of just stood there and watched for a few minutes. And he took off walking over to his sister while in that little body cast. So, I mean, he was walking sideways a little bit, but he did it. And then after that, we just kept continuously working with him, and he learned to walk. And then he got a walker for a little while. And then I think, in 2011? In 2011 is when he had the real big surgery, and that's where Noah lost the ability to use his legs. He became a paraplegic. So, but he doesn't let it bother him. I mean, wheelchair has just become an extension of his body.
Now going back on that body cast a minute, I think that you and I had discussed something the other day as well. Did he not get chicken pox while in a body cast?
Yeah, his sister played softball, and she was exposed to chicken pox. She got the chicken pox, and 2 weeks later, Noah had to go in for his surgery. And then after he come home from the hospital, about 14 days later, Noah ended up with chicken pox while in a body cast.
Wow. Now, I bet that's a pretty tough situation.
Actually, his dad, Lester, went to bed and he said, "Lord, if you just give me all the itching and not give it to Noah, I'll handle it as best I can." And Noah never had an itch.
Now, all right, so when we got us through these, him growing up as a baby, kind of let's transition a little bit into the high school world as a teenager. Were other teenagers very accepting of what Noah had going on?
Did your friends go with you and help you out and do things?
Yep.
You had good friends, didn't you? Yeah. He had. Now, my fondest memory is when he was in kindergarten, he had 3 really good friends, Aiden and Dalton Locke. and Clayton Maxwell. Do you remember when you went to the water fountain and you wanted a drink?
Yep.
And who climbed on the floor?
I think it
Was it Clayton?
I think it was 8.
It was Aiden that got on his hands and knees, and then or Dalton and Clayton helped you up to the water fountain so you could drink water from the water fountain, huh? But he's had really good school experiences.
That's what I call great friends right there, willing to help you do anything you need to do. Now, is the you say school experiences, were there any issues with the school? Has all the schools always been accommodating for families out there listening? Is there things they need to know to kind of help get their kid ready for school?
No, we did not have very good luck. I had to stay on our school district to make sure the bathrooms were handicap accessible. I would have to make sure that the teachers knew that he's in a wheelchair. You're going to have to fix the classroom for a wheelchair to move around in it. It wasn't the students that we had the problems with. It was actually teachers, because they thought, oh, well, my room's fixed. He'll just have to accommodate himself for it. And it doesn't work like that. So we ended up all together. I would have to go into the school before school would start and check bathrooms where he would be at and all of that. But once he got a shadow, when did you start with a shadow? Middle school, you started with Gary. And once he had his shadow with him, if there was a problem, then Gary would call me and say, hey, look, this bathroom's not ready for Noah. You need to get on them and say, look, we've got to have it done. But once we had a shadow with Noah, everything was better. So
now,
but you got to, as a parent, you got to go out there and you've got to really stay on top of the schools.
That's another thing a lot of parents are asking and probably wanting to know by listening to this conversation is the shadow you referred to. How do they get one of those?
Noah had what they call an IEP. That is for special individuals and all of that. You can go through the school if your kid has blindness, deafness, like Noah, he was walking on a walker or in a wheelchair. They have to be classified with an IEP. It's get special help. Like with Noah, because he's paraplegic, he couldn't get to the bathroom and all that in time. So he would have to have somebody get him there and help him in the bathroom situations and all. Or when he's in the lunchroom, getting his tray if he was eating in the cafeteria at lunchroom.
That would be a great resource for anybody out there listening as well, to look into your school system and see if you can have the accessibility to a shadow, because that would be a game changer for me to be able to get the kid around and do things, is having somebody to open doors for you.
Yes. It seems how our schools do not think that a push button is necessary. You know, it's just all these brand new schools that are being built. I think myself, there should be push buttons on some of the doors where they have access, that they can do it, feel like they're doing something on their own, but yet still have their shadow in case there's doors they cannot access.
Right. Now, I've been waiting and just on the edge of my seat waiting to learn and hear about Noah's Outdoor Adventure. So tell me and everybody out there listening, how did that get started?
His dad always said, he said, I think Noah needs a logo now that he's hunting and stuff. And it's not to promote anything other than Noah's outdoor adventures, that the adventures that Noah goes on. You take the first 3 letters of Noah's name, NOA, that is Noah's Outdoor Adventures. We couldn't figure out exactly what we wanted the logo to look like. So Noah's older sister, she come up with the logo of the little wheelchair, the guy with the rifle, and the antler for the wheel of the wheelchair. And we sat her down, we designed it, and had a good friend of ours, he come up with a program, and he said, I can make it look right. He said, let's do it. He did it and sent it to us, and we approved it. That's how Noah's Outdoor Adventures came along.
Wow. So now, Noah, have you been loving hunting all your life?
Yes, sir.
What's your favorite thing to hunt?
Well, I don't like favorites.
He don't like to play favorites.
Oh, okay. He's open to killing anything then.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, I did hear a story, Noah, and you can tell me this is true or not, but somebody told me when you were 10 or 11 years old, you killed a bear.
Yep.
I mean, how in the world? Like, I don't even understand how you do that. Where'd you go kill it?
It was in Minot, Wisconsin on September 17, 2011.
And was this a with a rifle, I guess?
Yep.
Okay.
What did you use?
I used a Rossi Youth Model 243.
And how cool was that? I mean, was your heart like about to jump out of your chest sitting there looking at a bear before you shot it?
Not really.
You just killed so many things that just didn't bother you, huh?
And believe it or not, the bear was his very first ever hunt.
So now tell everybody out there listening too, Noah. I mean, obviously they know you're into the hunting. Name some things you've killed.
White-tailed deer,
Uh-huh.
a pronghorn antelope, turkeys, a duck, a mule deer, a half-yak, an elk, a hog.
Ooh, too many to name.
You name it, I killed.
And you've killed. So, I mean, really all we're really kind of missing is a zebra and you'll have it all, won't you? Now tell me, in all this hunting and traveling you're doing, I get the feeling that you've met some amazing people along your travels and going through all these different states and towns and all that kind of stuff. Tell me about some of the people. What have you learned traveling?
Well, I've met so many celebrities that I can't tell you the name all of them.
Yeah.
But they have taught me a lot of pretty cool things about the outdoors.
Wow.
Who did you hunt with them? That was a Super Bowl champ.
Oh yeah, I remember hunting with Buckmasters. My hunting buddy was 3-time Super Bowl champion, New England Patriots, Matt White.
You've had some access to some people that most people never get to see in their whole life except on TV, and you've been hunting with them. Now, Mom, tell us, obviously we're hearing that he's traveling everywhere and meeting all these celebrity type peoples. I know for a fact, because I've been around him and I've heard the stories, that the real celebrity is that guy sitting beside you, because of everybody talks about him and how he's touched so many lives and how they just enjoy being around him. Tell me about him and his organization Touching Lives.
Well, matter of fact, I think it was this past March, we had a gentleman that was on a little hunt with us, and he told me, he says, he said, I watched Noah go on that antelope hunt, and he said, I thought to myself, if Noah can do that, I'm in a wheelchair, I'm gonna apply and I'm gonna go do that. So when he went, he applied and he sent me a message. He says, I'm going to Wyoming. He says, if Noah can do it, I can do it. And I think a lot of times whenever you meet people that per se are normal, they just kind of have this outlook of, well, I don't know how he does anything from a wheelchair. Noah can do anything from a wheelchair that we so-called normal people can do standing up. And Noah he has this outlook of, I have Morquio Syndrome. Morquio Syndrome does not have me. So as long as he knows he's in control of his disease, he knows that the disease does not take control of him. And he has talked to several people. We went on a little hunt in Texas a few years back, and the family was just coping with their son losing the ability to speak to him. He had a trach. He stopped walking. He ended up having a feeding tube put in and stuff like that. And they were not coping as parents very well with it at all. And I don't want to say they were ashamed, but they just did not know how to cope with a handicapped child. Right. They would not eat with us in the dining area. They would go to their little room. They would eat in there because they were having to plug him up to his feeding machine. Well, we were sitting there at lunch one day and Noah asked him, he said, hey, don't you want to eat in here with us? And he says, yeah, I do. Well, then his mom come over and said, well, come on, we're going to go to the room. He says, no, hook me up here. I want to eat right here with everybody else. So that's where, it makes us feel good that Noah showed him, hey, you can do it in here. We're not going to say anything. We're all eating together. You're just eating in a different direction. And his mom and them found out, we can all be accepted into this. And we kept in touch. Michael passed away this January. It'll be 2 years ago. And but it does us good to know that we actually show those parents, just because he's different or handicapped doesn't mean they're actually different. They're still the same person. They just have to do things in a different way. Eating, getting in a wheelchair and all that, that's just in a different way for them. They're still just as normal as we are, per se.
Right. No, and I totally understand exactly where you're coming from. And I'm just inspired myself of being around you guys, because I've had the opportunity just recently to be around Noah, and it's amazing, to see, like you said, what he can do. I didn't never really see him as being any different. A lot of people talk about kids and people with special needs. I think everybody has needs in their life. I think the thing about Noah and some of these other people are that they're just special. They only created one Noah in this whole world, and God, kind of touched the earth when he put him here. So I never look down upon what he's got going on. I just think it's amazing that he's been out there and killed everything under the sun to go travel and to want to do those things is inspiring as well. He wakes up with the attitude of like, what can I go do next? For people out there that are listening to us and want to know how to maybe reach out to you to learn more about Noah, or even reach out for the outdoor adventures to where they can maybe take him on a hunt or fishing or whatever else, what are some of the ways? I know you guys are on social media. Can you tell me, maybe like Facebook or something, how they get in touch with you?
Yeah, if you want to get a hold to me, you can. It's under Denise Allen Walters. That's on Facebook. And then Noah's Outdoor Adventures is on Facebook. You can reach out through any of that. If you have questions or want to know more about Noah or anything like that. But I mean, we're willing to help, give you a little information or whatever.
Okay. Now, we also love on this podcast to be able to, tell everybody's story and get that out there so everybody understands where he's coming from and what he's been through. But we also like to change gears from time to time and be able to tell something funny that just people wouldn't know about Noah at all. One of those stories that just makes you laugh when you hear Noah did this or Noah had this happen to him. Can you share a funny story with us?
Yeah, I'm going to share this one about the elk hunt. We went to Arizona with Noah on his elk hunt the second year, because he didn't get anything the first year, and they invited him back the second year. And the guides told me and my husband Lester and my brother-in-law Timmy that we couldn't come up there where they were going to be at with Noah, but they wanted us to stay back, but they were going to take care of Noah. Well, I found out afterwards the reason why is because Noah was sitting in a tree pod chair with a rope tied around his waist, hooked to a fireman that was holding Noah over the side of a cliff so he could shoot his elk. Well, when he gets through shooting the elk, we have to go. There's not but one way to get to it. It's down in the valley, and we have to go down the mountainside to get to this elk. And Noah is being carried by the fireman and another guy in the fireman's carry down the side of this rocky cliff mountain. And Noah hollers, "Wait, stop." And they all stop. "Are we hurting you?" "Nope, but I don't trust you. You need to hand me to my mother. My mother can get me where I gotta go." I couldn't get myself down the side of the mountain, but he wants me to get him down the side of the mountain. But we got down the side of the mountain, didn't we?
That's pretty funny to know he was hanging off the side of a cliff when he shot an elk. That's pretty unique. Now, here is our signature series question, we call it, for every podcast that we do. We want to know that if Noah's life was to end today or in the near future, what would you hope, if there was a book written about his life, what would you hope people read in that book?
Ooh, to know that just because he was in a wheelchair, it didn't mean it defined him.
Just I'm a good person doesn't mean I can't do big things.
Right. But my thing is just because if Noah was no longer here with us, I could honestly say God blessed him with the knowledge of loving the outdoors and being around other people and being blessings to them, and to let other people know, just because you have someone with a disability, it doesn't mean it defines them. It means they've just been given a special ability. It's not a disability, it's a special ability. And they still love, they still have feelings. And my thing that I'm going to always take with me is Noah loved life. Noah loves to live life to its fullest.
Well, that's pretty good book there. I would love to read one of these days. Hopefully, it's about 100 years down the road, so that we can take some time to fill that book full of a bunch of chapters. Now, Noah, tell us too. Now, before we go, is there anything out there you would like to say towards somebody else? If there's somebody listening to this thing and they're kind of struggling with a disability they've come through, or being told they can't do something, what would you have to say to them?
I would say, who said you have that disease? That disease doesn't have you.
You can get up to it.
You can do anything you put your mind to.
I mean, folks out there listening, I don't know how many more powerful it gets than that. To that man there to tell you to not allow something to hold on to you. You do what you need to do in life, because nothing has control over you. Now, and Mom, before we end this thing up, I know, because you and I have talked before, and I've talked to Dad, and I've heard from Noah as well, I know faith is a big piece of what you guys got going on, and God means a lot to you. If you could also reach out there to one of those families that are listening and really put that piece in there to them, tell them, what having God on your side going through these traumatic things and all these surgeries has meant to you.
Well, if I didn't have faith, Noah wouldn't be sitting here, because in 2011, when Noah had he had a huge surgery, and I actually watched Noah leave this earth for 4.5 minutes. And that is just something I don't ever want to have to see another family go through, especially if you don't have faith. And I know Noah had a lot of faith, because on August the 14th of 2011, Noah accepted Christ as his Savior. And then on August 21st, you were baptized. And then if you don't have faith, you really don't have a whole lot of hope. But when you have faith, you've got more hope and love and will and anything. And I think I just willed Noah to come back and stay on this earth, because he still had some unfinished business. And evidently, it must have been what was supposed to happen, because 4.5 minutes later, they brought him back, and he's been here ever since. And he went home with a trach, and they told us it would be forever. And I thought, oh, well, I can get through another situation. And then 5 weeks after you had the trach put in, we went to a doctor's visit, and they said, trach has to come out. Everything's completely healed. I said, yeah. And I said, he's been healed by the grace of God. So we know who his true healer is. It's not just the doctors here on earth, but it's the mighty healer.
Wow. Well, I know that everybody out there listening, really needed to hear that, because I want to make sure that they know that who's in control of this thing, and who's directing Noah's life and his family's life every day to get them through all these adventures that he's got going on. Well, I want to, end this thing by thanking you guys for coming on and being part of our show, and really letting us, just a small peek into Noah's life. I know we couldn't cover it all in this story in this short amount of time, but I would definitely love to have you guys on in say a year or two, when there's a whole lot more dead wildebeests and raccoons and zebras and all these other things he's going to kill, so that we can hear those stories.
Yeah, that sounds good to us. You'll do that again? You'll do it again in a couple of years?
Yeah.
All right, now tell me, Noah, too, before we go, I know people are out there wanting to be able to reach out. Tell us again, how do we get in touch with Noah's Outdoors Adventures?
On Facebook, if you type in Noah's Outdoor Adventures, click. Or you can just type in Denise Walters.
Denise Allen Walters, yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Well, guys, you heard it from them. We are going to wrap this podcast up. We thank y'all for going out there and listening. Check out Apple Podcast, Podbean, YouTube. And if you guys that are on YouTube, hit that like and subscribe button. Also, leave us a comment. If you know somebody out there that's got a great, inspiring story that our audience would love to hear, send us our direction. Send us an email. Check out the website, rollingwithmyspecialfriends.com. Until next time, we'll see you guys later.